Through the destruction of the individual, texts illuminate connections between the world of texts and human society. Both in 1984 and in Blade Runner, we see a dim future that has fallen to totalitarian rule, with both Ingsoc and the Tyrell Corporation holding imaginable sway over London and Los Angeles respectively. In the way these texts treat the Outer Party, the Proles, and the Replicants, the reader can connect the literary worlds of 1984 and Blade Runner with their real-world inspirations, most notably the Nazi Party and the Soviet Union. Through these texts, the readers are warned about totalitarian society, revisionist history, and inconsistencies in human behavior. These texts additionally explore the individual and collective experiences of torture and propaganda, showing the reader how individuality can be removed from a person. A totalitarian state seeks to be in full control of its nation, at the cost of anything and anyone else. Orwell's Oceania is a prime example of this, vast sums of resources being used to consolidate its power, such as the Ministry of Truth and the Ministry of Love. Furthermore, if anyone were to act out against the party, it's very likely they would have been revised out of history. The motto of the Ministry of Truth states, "Who controls the past controls the future, who controls the present controls the past." This oxymoronic mantra highlights the sheer force of will Ingsoc exerts over Oceania, effectively being able to manipulate all time to their will. This policy is very reminiscent of those to the Nazi Party, where book burnings were often employed to suppress opposition. This suppression is exemplified further in the line, "Until they become conscious, they will never rebel. And until they have rebelled, they cannot become conscious." This seeming paradox highlights the collective repression of the proles, Winston's reflection determining that an uprising is all but impossible. Similar tactics were employed during Stalin's time leading the USSR, where unfair working conditions and quality of life were played down in order to make it appear that the people were doing well. Furthermore, Orwell addresses both regimes directly, O'Brien stating that all the others, even those who resembled ourselves, were cowards and hypocrites. The German Nazis and the Russian communists came very close to us in their methods, but they never had the courage to recognize their own motives. Orwell employs direct historical allusion in order to contrast Oceania, maintaining that Ingsoc rules out of the way it does out of necessity and reason, opposing the power-hungry dictatorships that were these authoritarian regimes. By directly acknowledging the real-world totalitarian societies that Ingsoc is inspired by, Orwell invites the reader to see the world of 1984 in a deeper context. The destruction of the individual is further explored by Orwell as Winston becomes able to gain perspective on totalitarian society. In the final part of 1984, Winston is captured by the Thought Police, coming to the understanding that he has been deceived. While Mr. Charrington and O'Brien's betrayals were of shock to the audience, both are cohesive plot twists. Any trust Winston held was granted of his own volition, something he had given too eagerly. O'Brien tells Winston inside Room 101 that the first thing you need to understand is that in this place there are no martyrdoms, alluding that Winston's death will be meaningless, contrasting the way the Russian Bolsheviks eliminated the previously ruling Romanov family, allowing them to become martyrs in the eyes of the world. This comparison maintains the assertion that Ingsoc is seemingly without flaw. The crushing of opposition is continued in the line, "If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face, forever." Orwell utilizes sensory imagery in order to remind the audience of the brutal beating Winston faced at the hands of the guards, while demonstrating O'Brien's true callousness. As a result, it is clear that humanity under Ingsoc will toil as long as the inner party demands it. Winston determines that whilst under the threat of torture, no one else will stand against the party, evident in the line, "In the face of pain, there are no heroes," using a double entendre to encapsulate his feelings. Under the threat of pain, no one will rise to fight the party, and whilst under immense pain, heroes do not act heroic. This is cemented by Winston and Julia's betrayal of one another, both cracking under torture. They both come to not love each other and move on, despite Winston claiming he would have taken on Julia's pain for her if need be. These altering perspectives and Winston's dehumanization allow the reader to connect with the world of the text through these individual human experiences. The ideas of humanity and individuality we innately expect out of text can often be subverted by authors, leading to a bleak and dehumanizing text. The The replicants that inhabit Los Angeles are even further dehumanized than the proles are, seemingly lacking the ability to live a meaningful life or develop emotions. This would seemingly contradict their creator's own motto, the Tyrell Corporation claiming replicants are more human than human. This paradoxical mantra highlights a seeming hypocrisy from Tyrell, claiming to hold them in a much higher regard than humans, but treating them as so much lower. This theme of inconsistencies and double meanings is constant throughout the text. Detective Gaff alludes to this, yelling at Deckard that it's too bad she won't live, but then again, who does? Using a double entendre to suggest that while Rachel won't live, her existence as a replicant did not allow her to truly experience life regardless. Fortunately for Deckard, it's Gaff's mercy that allows them to run away together, demonstrating further inconsistencies in human behavior. It's likely Gaff's interactions with Deckard while hunting replicant Leon Kowalski that led him to spare Rachel, recognizing Deckard as an equal. The replicant they were hunting begs a question at the beginning of the film, asking Holden, it's painful to live in fear, isn't it?" before fatally shooting Holden. By asking this question, Leon points out the irony of the Voight-Kampff test, that by displaying emotion he is determined to be a replicant. Replicants, unable to normally feel fear, can now fully understand what it is to live, and to live in fear on the run. It's only once Leon turns the tables on Holden that he articulates this thought, dispatching the detective and fleeing the scene. These inconsistent and paradoxical behaviors allow the readers to reflect on their own behaviors and motivations, comparing them against the characters of the film. Therefore, texts such as Ridley Scott's Blade Runner illuminate our understanding of what it means to be human. As a result, Orwell's and Scott's literary worlds are able to illuminate the connections between themselves and human society through the destruction of the individual. The themes of revisionist history, totalitarian society, and inconsistencies in human behavior all allow these authors to demonstrate the effects of totalitarian rule on society. Both 1984's direct allusions to the Nazis and Soviets, as well as the comparisons that can be drawn between modern oligarchies and Blade Runner's Los Angeles, allow the readers to connect the worlds of the text and human society. These connections aid the audience in relating to and understanding the themes of dehumanization in both texts.